let's review the game from the round 5. So yeah, here we go. Some common opening, everything looks okay. Simple Josekis, everything looks fine. And now white played this move, black answered, and white cut. What is the reason of this cut? I think to make more weaknesses in black's shape. So if white plays there, if black doesn't want to have any weaknesses, black can play like this. So later white plays here. To really have completely no weaknesses, black can connect. Usually this connection is not good, but about this later. But black can connect. Later white will be able to play this exchange and white can come back if white likes. So like this there is no weaknesses. With other moves there might be some weaknesses. For example, black might be interested in capturing, and after this we get some ko. This is actually the common variation after this cut. So black takes the stone and like this we get some kind of a ko. Its opening might be difficult for white to find ko threads, and after this like white still must cut, and then we get really this big ko. So I think white cannot really win it. It might be not so easy for white to continue. Yeah, but in the game black played like this, so that it looks like black takes big. And now white made this exchange. I don't see a reason of playing this exchange. A for B. Because I think that after this exchange white just loses possibilities of playing some other moves in the future. Now, after playing B, black is quite strong. It means that it's much easier for black to do some problems there on the right. White doesn't have any center moves here in the center, so this right side starts to be very open. Might be possible to play there later for black. And if white doesn't make this exchange, white has basically every move sente, so that white doesn't need to play anything. If white didn't play anything in the corner, and even white played somewhere else, and later at some point if black plays here, or the other move which is usually played, this attachment, it might be possible for white to try to think at some point about playing something like this, and this move is going to be sente. Might be some sente. But after this exchange, if white plays this one first, it's actually not only this move, but also the other moves might be sente. So white gets quite many sente moves around. White at some point might turn and get some other sente moves. Something like this, maybe even some more pushes. So there are many options for white to get sente. So it's very difficult for black to play anything on the right. It's basically already safe. But after making this exchange, after playing here, it's not safe again. So that if white plays somewhere else and black plays something here, suddenly there are some problems because white doesn't have center moves around. Black might try to destroy it. Here I think it went quite nice for black. We can also think about playing here for white. Now black plays a move like this and white makes this kind of exchange. So white loses a possibility of making this move in center. Yeah, after these exchanges, white played tenuki. So here we've got some exchanges like this. Black played here, everything safe, white came back, and black protected the shape even like this. Yeah, I feel like after this situation in the lower right, it would be good to play here. It's pretty big. I think it's possible to damage there this right side. Now when white doesn't have any center moves, I think it should be quite big. In the game black decided to protect the left side. However, here I think it's good to have a look at the difference, because normally there are two moves which black plays in some kind of similar situation. This is the A1 and this is the B. Both are playable. In some cases might be also a C move, like this Kosumi, might be also interesting for black. From this what I understand, usually if it's not interesting for white to cut the shape, doesn't matter if cutting like this or like this, if it's not interesting for white to cut, then this move should be better for black, because like this black gets a little bit bigger potential in the center. Black can just take more points, might be easier to take a base, might be easier to get there a little bit more points. So if it's anyway not interesting for white to cut, then I think this one should be more interesting for black. Is it interesting for white to cut? After this move, like black gets with every single move a little bit bigger wall, white is quite far away, difficult to cut like this. And if black plays here, white can try to make an empty triangle for black. Here, this empty triangle. So it looks like black's shape doesn't look well. But white finishes in gote. This is important. White finishes in gote. Black doesn't need to come back. So after this move, black can just play somewhere there on the right side. Black doesn't need to worry about own group here. So I think this cut is anyway not so interesting for white. If white had a stone in this spot, now I think it might be a bit different, because if black decides to play here, this move is sente. Black needs to come back, because if black doesn't, later white can try to kill these stones. So now I think it might be more interesting for black to play in this spot, because white can just connect in sente. Later white decided to protect the shape on the right side while playing this tiger's mouth. If we reverse the order from this happened there, and suddenly we get this shape, white plays here, black comes back, then suddenly white stone appears in this spot. It looks horrible for white. White just lost a move. I think all this lower right corner, it went really pretty horrible for white. And if white doesn't play in this spot, this tiger's mouth is not necessary now. Black already has a strong shape. Why playing next to the strong group? It doesn't make much sense. If black is there already strong, instead of playing this tiger's mouth, it's more interesting just to play something like this, to protect the shape on the right. Like this, white protects the shape much more than if white plays here. Like this, white just plays close to black's strong group, and here, white protects this gap. This what was this weakness, or like while playing like this or something like this, doesn't really matter where. But like this, white protects there this weakness on the right, and like this, white plays theoretically a good shape, but if looking strategically, white just plays next to black's strong group. Not good. So here I would recommend to play something safer there, a little bit higher. Okay, in the game, black played to get moyo, white played this attachment. Here we've got some exchanges. Now black played this exchange and came back. Overall, after all these moves, I think it went quite interesting for white. White cut, white has space to make some base. Is it really necessary to make this exchange? Because after black comes back, now suddenly white was able to play this hane, so that white started to be faster than black. If we are looking on these three stones from black, 3 stones from white, white started to be 1 stone ahead. If black doesn't make this exchange, if black plays just like this, white doesn't have an option to beat this first one, this faster, so that white cannot go above black, and white cannot get this like nice shape, so that later it will be possible to make a base. What if black plays there? If white plays somewhere here, black can already play hane. If white plays something like this, I think black can even try to attack all this white group. If black plays here, let's say white captures, black just keeps everything cut, like this, white captured this stone, but it's actually not normal ponuki, because white also has a stone in that spot, not so efficient if we compare with simple ponuki, and now it's not so interesting for white, and so white still needs to struggle to make life with all this group. Black cut white, and where are white's eyes? Black has here some space to make eyes on base, and white where? White needs to escape, but it doesn't give any points for white. And still, if black gets some stronger shape with these stones, this one might be super painful for white. If black invades there at some point when black has already a bit more fixed shape here, a bit higher. And I think it should be possible to fix the shape because white has a weak group. So white runs away, black follows white creates there some life in the center, and then black jumps here, this invasion. I think it might be difficult for white to continue. If black doesn't make this exchange, to keep white cut, but at the same time white kept black cut, and white was able to play this first move here. I think white got some kind of advantage in this fight. And now suddenly black answered here. Black doesn't need to come back. Normally, to protect this shape, let's assume that this one is sente, so that black needs to answer. In this position, black has a little bit more points, but at the same time white gets some move here on the top. So this exchange, either playing just here for black and like not giving any sente moves for white, or playing here on the second line so that white gets this move sente, this might be like questionable. We don't know which is really better, because like this black gets a little bit more territory, but white gets this extra stone. We don't know what is better. But the thing is that black will not need to come back. Black will never play this move again. So if white plays anything there, like connection, black just continues on the top. Black will not need to add a move there. Or if white plays something like this, black can actually take away white's liberty, so still it will not be possible for white to play this kind of hane. white can only extend, and then black continues to play on the second line, so that black will never play in this part of the board. And because of this, I think this is just slow for black. White played this exchange and white came back. White fixed this shape on the right, but it's not necessary for black to continue. This is not the main part of the board now. Now the main part is this group. So instead of connection here, I feel like it would be much more interesting to play somewhere there on the top, so that black can destroy white's possibility of making a base with this group. And if white cuts here at some point, if white cuts, then black can connect. There is no problem with this cutting. If white plays something like this, black can connect. Yes, black's shape doesn't look perfect, but it works, it's connected, and at the same time black is able to put this move like somewhere in this area, like just somewhere there, so that white cannot make a base. After a move, for example, like this, if white tries to make black shape looking not so good, still white has a problem. White needs to come back. Like white will need to play somewhere here, and black can attack however black would like. Also, white will not have a base. White doesn't have these several points. Black starts to have a few points on the top. Overall, I would recommend to play something on the top instead of this connection. I think it's just slow. So these moves, this one, I think it was very slow combo for black. Yeah, then white played here, and now black started some slow attack. But at the end, white just made life. However, black got sente, so black now was able to play here on the right side to do some small harm. Yeah, here are a little bit less things working for black than before white played here, because less options for black, because white already got these 2 extra stones. But still, I think it should be possible to do there something, so black did. Yeah, black played here, white played on the second line, later black played here. In almost all cases, what I saw this shape, white was answering here in any pro games or like anywhere. So I think this is just the common move for white. Usually white doesn't cut, because it doesn't really give any big profit for white, but strengthens black. Also, after these exchanges, when black plays here at some point and white connects, this one is also going to be sente in the future, later possible to cut. If we imagine that this will be played anyway, suddenly black is able to get very big strength with own stones. And still, there are some moves for black to block white. This one should be more interesting for white to play. White just protects the points, fixes the shape. Now black doesn't have many sente moves. This will be sente. Yes, this white will need to answer, but if black plays a bit further, it's not necessarily sente. And also if white cuts, black's shape is not so perfect. So I think it's just fine for white to extend. In the game, white played like this, so now black was able for some longer time to play this exchange, but black just blocks white from going to the center. So after white played here, black decided to cut. After white escaped, black cut here, white escaped, black played this move, and now if white comes black, black simply kills everything. Ladders work well for black, like several ladders which white can choose. Anyway, everything works well for black, so white dies before this group. There was quite early end of the game, because after this move white played Atari, so black killed these 2 stones, and now it's an over. It's like this, game over, I think already. Black just destroyed completely this right side and even killed this white's group. It's game over already at this point. Yeah, so maybe let's analyze a little bit this, what happened here. Yeah, in this position I think white just cannot escape. This is just too much. Instead, white needs to fix the shape somehow, because this move is very big. If black cuts, white cannot resist. White would need to play it like this, but it's very painful if black can capture the stone in center. So now I think white just needs to come back, like maybe this move. Maybe actually possible to get a little bit more, because after this black has a possibility to connect everything without weaknesses, this group with this group. So I'm thinking about playing this exchange first and then coming back, so that if black tries to connect, it's not connected in such a nice way. So later white can still try to do some problems for black, or if black plays this way, still possible to try to cut. Yeah, so but I think white should play just from this side and not here. It just doesn't work, all these ladders. Yeah, and actually if white plays here, I think this white shape is not so bad, right? Like if black cannot connect in such a nice way, black would probably need to come back here in this spot to also fix the shape. So white gets sente. Black didn't get that much, right? If we're looking on this position, black didn't destroy anything, white was still connected, white had their territory, and suddenly white got sente. So overall, it might be not so interesting invasion for black. Suddenly white just got sente. Yes, black got here several stones, but white finished in sente. So later white was able to do something, some problems here, because we can notice that these kind of moves are going to be center for white. Later white can play here. White, I think, should be able to make life anyway here in the bottom. So if black finished in gote, it's not so good result for black. If white plays something like this and comes back, and black needs to come back as well, later might be a little bit annoying. If white is able to play here some center moves, might be able to survive underneath. I'm wondering about playing from the other side, something like this. The reason is that when white comes back and black comes back as well, actually black might even try to get a bit more, because later it's also possible for black to play something like this. So it's possible also to destroy this white shape, so like this black can get this shape stronger. Here white doesn't have these stones to cut black. So in my opinion, this black shape starts to be stronger. I think black doesn't need to have a stone which is cutting, but if black chooses to have the stone outside, black is stronger. The stone outside, it controls a bit more this what's going on there on the remaining part of the board in all this area. It leaves some weaknesses, white can still try to escape, but if the stone is on the left, then it protects more a little bit this center. And also actually this one, it might be also quite interesting exchange to have it played. And then let's say black plays like this, so black can basically protect everything, so that white doesn't have entrance in this part of the board, white doesn't have any cutting point in this part of the board, so black protects everything. If white comes back, and let's say black just doesn't want to have any weaknesses here with cuts, so black just simply comes back, and this would be center for later. So like this, black already gets very big potential in this part and also nice potential in this part. So even if white destroys one of these two, the second will be black's. But in the other option, if we come back to this position like this, black doesn't have stones yet. It's difficult for black to block this side. So white can focus on this what was not played, where there are no stones yet. So white can destroy this part, and still for black it will be very difficult to block here, so black will not have any points anyway here. And in this other position, I think it should be more interesting for black to play anyway from the other side. And if white tries to cut, go somewhere here, black also cuts, like kills these white's two stones. I think it should be anyway okay for black. These were some of my ideas. Yeah, and in the game after black played here and killed these two stones, white was trying a little bit more later to play, but it's just too big. That's what black got. So here we've got a few extra moves. White was trying to complicate the game, but black just played to simplify everything, and black just took the victory. So now white resigned. Okay, thank you for attention, and see you at the next review. Bye.